Hi, Neil O'Brien. We're on to Finance 7, the final one, and it's KPI, weekly KPI reports. One of the best habits I've ever formed in my 19 years of business is that on my whiteboard in the office, I keep weekly KPIs of all the main figures of my business, and I find it provides huge focus. I've introduced it with a lot of clients as well. So I'm going to take you through this, and I'll give you a few examples as well. Finance 7, weekly KPI reports. There's a basketball game on, there's a scoreboard up on the top middle screen. And the example I often use with business owners is that if you were a manager of a team, of a soccer team, a tennis, rugby, basketball, whatever it is, and let's say you're managing a team and it's halfway through the second half and you have to make decisions about what to do with the team in terms of changes or formation or tactics, and you've no scoreboard. So you don't know if you're winning or losing, but you have to make decisions about maybe subs. What would you do? Well, it'd be very difficult for you to make decisions for that team without the right information. And I see businesses the same. Weekly KPIs and a month-end review are your opportunity to have a scoreboard in your business. And it's absolutely critical for focus and for lots and lots of reasons. I have two examples here, and there's a lot of numbers on here, okay? This is an accountant I worked with, and I'll just take you through the numbers. The whole idea of the KPIs is that it's like it works down. So each figure is determined by the one before it. Okay, that's the idea of this. So for this accountant, they have a target of 12,300 per week coming in cash. How do they hit that target? Well, they have to be sending out invoices, or they refer to them as fee notes, same figure. WHIP, that was an interesting one. This is the billable time that the accountants do. It doesn't always get invoiced out for various reasons. So you can see their WHIP is 16,000. You only expect to invoice 12 of that. Not unusual. How are they going to hit this figure every week? So the partner is a senior person in there. Their target is 4,500. Quite simply, that means if their charger rate is 150 euros per hour and they work 30 hours per week, that would be 4,500. A manager is a slightly 30 hours, but at a lower rate, and so on, senior, junior. If all these people hit their billable, if they all work 30 hours and it's billable work and it should go onto fee notes and invoices, they will hit their 16,000. These are their targets. Then every week they track their actual figures. So the actual, you can see here, cash in was good. It was higher than target. That's good. The invoices out was lower. And of course, you'll always have a timing difference with all these things. So the cash coming in now could have been invoiced weeks ago, months ago, and so on. The invoices going out now will be paid sometime in the future, weeks and months ahead. WHIP, they were just below their target. You can see here, and it breaks it out by individual. The partner was just below. Yeah, he could be setting a good example. He's just below his target. Manager is below. So as a senior, look at that. The top three people are all just below. Oh, this junior person is above their target, 2140 against a target of 1950. They're just below it, and they're a little bit below it. So now this is just 1 week. The great thing about KPI reports is when you gather information for 6, 7, 8 weeks, now you've got really meaningful information, because you can have good weeks and bad weeks. Whereas when you get 8 weeks together, you get a very accurate average. So the idea is this business wants to grow they want to grow their cash in, their sales and cash in. They need to be hitting these figures. Yeah, and there's kind of no hiding place in a way. I have another one here, sales marketing. This is a different focus for an architect I worked for recently. They wanted to grow their sales and grow their business. So here's the targets we came up with for them. New work won, we new projects and work. They set a target of 21,000. That's up about 30% on what they did last year. They wanted to grow the business substantially. So they averaged 14,000 a week last year. They set a target of 21,000. Now, tenders is the step before that. This is where they tender for work, they do quotations. Now, historically, they win 1 in 3. So if they want to win 21,000 of new work, they have to pitch and tender for 63,000. Yeah. Now, how do they do that? They need to have sales meetings. What's the step before a tender? They have a sales meeting. The target is 2. How do they get the sales meeting? They can look for referrals from clients and other people. They go to network meetings every week. They're building up their connections on LinkedIn, phone calls, emails. So all these activities should lead to a sales meeting, which should lead to tender, which should lead to new work won. Yeah. And that's the beauty about these KPIs, is that each one is cause and effect. Each one is affected by the one before it. How did they do last week? Now, it's quite new for them. All this is quite a new process for them. So they hit 7,000 in terms of new work won. Tenders out was 34 and so on. Now, they're actually below target in quite a few of these. and there's 4 people on the team. They're all doing certain activities and they're below target. But you can see that there's no hiding place. If they're not hitting their target of new work won, it's probably because they're either not doing enough tenders or they're not doing enough activity down here. So it's real cause and effect. And that's one thing I love about this. There's no hiding place with these KPIs. Why KPIs? Here's a really interesting stat I came across a few years ago. Of the top 500 businesses in the USA, 72% of them have weekly KPIs, and they state weekly KPIs as a key part of their success. That's a pretty amazing statistic. 72% of the top businesses in the US have weekly KPIs. Now, focus, I love the focus they provide. As I said, I don't get everything right in business, but one of my better habits I've ingrained for 19 years is on my whiteboard over here, I have KPIs, and I track them every Monday, every Friday. I track them, I plan a couple of weeks ahead. For me, they are cash in, invoices out, value of the work done, number of sales meetings, and then all the marketing activities I do to get to sales meetings. It could be sometimes I go to network events, I look for referrals from clients, I have referral partners. Sometimes I do direct mail, cold calling occasionally, and so on. So that's the weekly targets I spoke about. So, you know, on the previous video, we looked at month-end review, which I think is a key part of a scoreboard. If you want to hit a target, if you have an annual target, if you're checking it every month, 12 times during the year, you're checking it. How do you make sure you hit your monthly targets? I would say if you've got weekly, if you have KPIs and you're checking them weekly, notice 4 times as you go through the month that you're checking to see if you're on track. So what's the best way to hit your annual targets? Is hit your monthly targets. What's the best way to hit your monthly targets for sales and profits and so on? Is to hit your weekly KPIs. Just like I showed you on the last one, if that architect hits those numbers for tenders and meetings and network meetings and new work won, they're going to grow their business by 50%, which is pretty impressive. Okay, root cause actions. Again, if you look back at the accountant, they were just below target. Actually, some of the senior people were below target. On the architect and their KPIs, they didn't have, you know, in terms of their connection, LinkedIn connections below target, their referrals and so on, phone calls, emails, I think they're all below target. So if they're not hitting their target, you drill down and you spot the cause and you take actions to fix it. Yeah, so there's no hiding place with KPIs around your financials or around your sales and marketing. Okay, so actions, you know, if you want KPIs, which I would strongly recommend you do, decide what the key figures are in your business. What are the key numbers that you want to keep an eye on weekly? Prepare the report and track them weekly, and then just watch those numbers grow. If you focus, the old saying is, if you want to improve something, you measure it. Yeah, and that's what KPIs are brilliant. If you want to improve any aspect of your business, I would suggest design a set of weekly KPIs, set your targets and track it weekly and focus on those numbers, hitting those numbers, and you will grow your business and you grow your sales. Okay, thanks for listening.